I put it on a continuum. So on the left side is pity, sympathy, compassion, and empathy. And on the pity side of this continuum is this sense of power, asymmetry. So when you pity someone, you look down on them. Oh, you poor person, I pity you. And then slowly as you make your way across that, you pass sympathy, you feel for someone, I feel bad for you. Compassion is better, I feel with you. Empathy is a really powerful human trait and human emotion. I think it's second most powerful emotion, only second to love. Ooh. And I think what's especially potent about empathy is that it's the innate trait that unites us in our shared and common humanity. It's what allows us to feel together, like we know what it's like to feel love. We know what it's like to feel fear, shame, embarrassment. We have those emotions in common, and empathy is what connects us, but with an important caveat, and that is that we don't deny lived experience. So even though maybe you and I are going through a similar thing, like a breakup, so we might be able to empathize, I don't really know what it's like for you because I'm not in your shoes. So that's important to know. But I think empathy is a stronger feeling than sympathy because the power asymmetry is gone.
So what would look like, let's say, in the case that you said that, let's say I'm going through a breakup, a divorce. Mm-hmm. What would empathy look like, and what would sympathy look like of you towards me, for example?
Well, first of all, if you're telling me about your heartache, I am holding the space, and I'm working really hard at not kind of coming back to you with my version of what happened to me too. Oftentimes in the sharing, we want to say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you feel like. I felt like that too. But actually there's a real gift in holding the space for someone to speak and feel heard, where there's quiet and silence in the conversation, and a really good use of reflecting back what you've just heard. So you might say something like, give me a sentence about what's going on with your breakup.
I feel that I'm lost, that I will not find someone else, and that I'm alone in the world.
You really feel alone in the world, don't you? So I'm reflecting back something that you just said. And even though it might feel kind of like you're pretending to sound empathic by reflecting back those words, because you just used those words and I reflect them back, you feel heard in a really different way in your brain. And then it opens up the door for you to continue divulging the next layer. If somebody who's holding space is busy sharing oh my gosh, yeah, and I remember what it felt like for me, then it's not empathizing, it's not holding the space, it's not active listening. And we're always so busy in our minds listening to respond instead of listening to understand. And if we're emotionally triggered in an argument, nobody's listening to understand. We're only listening to respond. So the act of sort of listening, holding space is a really big empathy trait.
That's really powerful. Listening to
understand,
not to respond. And it is crazy. I think it's probably have been done by scientists or any type of curious person to listen to people's conversations. I've myself, just by thinking of that here and there throughout my life, I'm like, wow, it really feels that a lot of conversations are kind of just someone's waiting for the moment that the other person finishes their sentence, sometimes not even, to just say what they think. So it's not even a fluid conversation that is built up. It's more I say my thing, you say your thing, I say my thing, you say your thing. And there's kind of this lack of synergy, right?
My dad used to say when I was dating through my 20s and 30s, I'd call him up like, Dad, I'm going on a date. And he'd say, remember, Anita, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and use them in that proportion. And he wasn't trying to be dismissive of me as the female in the couple. He was just saying, spend some time getting to know somebody by listening and not making it about you. People will remember how they feel around you. So a lot of time when we're talking to impress somebody, and we're feeling oh, now that they've just mentioned Thailand, I'll talk about my trip to Cambodia, right? But if you actually are not trying to respond, but trying to understand, trying to be more curious, trying to get more information in a sensitive way, the person will feel better around you.